Hello everyone, this is Teacher Gilvan and welcome to Wanderings. The initial reaction of grade 10 students when they heard that they will be going to give a public speech is mahirap, difficult, or it's really challenging. That's the fear of public speaking, glossophobia. Marami sa atin ay kinakabahan kapag haharap sa maraming tao. I can only imagine grade 10 students, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds facing a lot of people talagang medyo nakakajahe yan. Facing the crowd is really nerve-wracking if you go there without any preparation. I like to think of the painting of Demosthenes, a great public speaker of ancient Greece. In this painting, the man is practicing oratory. He is practicing alone and he is facing the sea. Imagine you are practicing a speech in front of the sea. No? Why? Because the crowd can be tumultuous. The crowd can go against you or the crowd cannot believe you. Someone might shout, might be supporting another person, another authority, or another idea. So Demosthenes is practicing. We're gonna be hearing one famous Hollywood actor. His name is Leonardo DiCaprio, and he did Titanic, starred in many famous movies. The one movie that I can remember is The Man in the Iron Mask, where he played the kind man in the Iron Mask, and of course the evil spoiled brat king. What is an advocacy? Advocacy is an act of actively supporting, promoting, or speaking in favor of a particular cause. Again, may isang cause ka na sinusuportahan at ikaw ay nagsasalita, nag-iisip at kumikilos para dito sa cause na ito. It can be a particular cause, idea, group, or individual. It involves using one's voice, influence, yung iyong kasikatan. If you're an artist, you can use your star appeal so you can convince many to join. To advance a specific agenda, raise awareness, or seek change in policies, practices, or attitudes. Let's not forget that there are some features of an advocacy speech. So again, there is a specific agenda in an advocacy. For example, in the speech of Leonardo DiCaprio, the agenda is of course to stop this changing of climate. And of course, it raises awareness and it makes people informed about the issue. And of course, it seeks to change the policies that are existing. For example, wala tayong tax sa carbon. Dapat magkaroon ng tax yung carbon na sumisira talaga ng ating ozone layer. That's making the earth hot. Yung mga nagproproduce nun, that mas malaki yung tax na binabayad, yung carbon tax. This carbon tax, kailangan din naman mga ngolekta nito talaga, mga worthy people, honest people, na mailalagay nila sa environment sustainability or reforestation or planting of trees, ma-prevent pa yung further pollution. Thinkers, so let's analyze the speech of Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Please welcome newly appointed United Nations Messenger of Peace, Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. I'm honored to be here today. I stand before you not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen, one of the 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York on Sunday and the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis. As an actor, I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems. I believe that mankind has looked at climate change in that same way, as if it were a fiction, as if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. But I think we all know better than that now.
Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio say these words in the beginning of his speech. He said, thank you. He also say, I'm honored. That's part of pathos and ethos. Pathos is the appeal to emotion. Ethos is establishing credibility. We can imitate that. In our speech, we got to really befriend the audience. No? We come with a purpose of giving them something important and of course, trying to convince them to join us sa ating advocacy. Don't miss to greet them. Don't miss to thank them. And don't miss to say, I'm honored to be here. Make the audience see that you are a friend to them. It's goodwill. The speaker tries not to be offending. He showed civility, respect, thankfulness. Ethos is credibility. In the introduction, Leonardo DiCaprio also established himself as an honest guy speaking in front. In public speaking, we got to have that ethos to be perceived that we are honest. He said these words, I'm not an expert, hindi ako eksperto, pero ako ay isang concerned citizen. He's telling the truth, hindi siya expert, he's not a scientist. Is he a concerned citizen? If you think about it, Leonardo DiCaprio, he has $1 million, he's very famous. To be there, I think there's concern. He's using his star appeal to make people involved and to affect leaders for changing policies that can stop climate change. I'm one of the people, 400,000 people who marched in the streets of New York last Sunday, and one of the billions of others around the world who want to solve our climate crisis. On this part, he's telling numbers of supporters. Yeah, so advocacy kind of involved numbers to be convincing to the audience. So don't forget goodwill and ethos. And pathos. Pathos is the appeal to emotion. If you're kind to the audience, affects their emotion. They can turn kind to you as well. They would listen. No? Smile. Samahan din natin yung smile yung ating introduction. Now we proceed to the body of Leonardo DiCaprio's speech.
Every week we're seeing new and undeniable climate events, evidence that accelerated climate change is here right now. Droughts are intensifying, our oceans are acidifying, with methane plumes rising up from the ocean floor. We are seeing extreme weather events and the West Antarctic and Greenland ice sheets melting at unprecedented rates, decades ahead of scientific projections. None of this is rhetoric, and none of it is hysteria. It is fact. The scientific community knows it, industry knows it, governments know it, even the United States military knows it. The chief of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Command, Admiral Samuel Locklear, recently said that climate change is our single greatest security threat. My friends, this body, perhaps more than any other gathering in human history, now faces this difficult but achievable task. You can make history, or you will be vilified by it.
The body contains logos. When we say logos, these are ideas that appeal to the mind. Pathos appeals to the heart, the emotion, Ethos is the credibility of the speaker. But when we talk about logos, these are things that can convince a rational mind. For example, evidences. What are the evidences, Mr. DiCaprio, that climate change is happening? So he mentioned it here. Ang sabi niya dito, droughts are intensifying. Mga tagtuyot, palala ng palala. Oceans are acidifying. And there are extreme weather events all around the globe. So these are evidences, scientific evidences. There are studies that says this. There are people who experience this, nations, island nations, and even big nations, na binabaha, Yeah, so these are evidences. In the body of our speech, for me, this is the thing that you're gonna be really working hard on. Speaking it, madali lang, pero collecting it will demand you to research, Research for correct information, up-to-date information. Diyan na papasok yung pag-aralan natin ng first quarter, mga sources of information. The body present evidences. One of this is authorities, He said the chief of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Command Admiral Samuel Locklear, he's the chief of the U.S. Navy, recently said that climate change is our single greatest security threat. He did not invent those words. It was said by Pacific Command Admiral. So we can quote authorities. So again, in the body, don't forget logos. This is the appeal to the rational mind. So that you can convince a person with the rational mind, you should give him evidences. You should give him a statement from authorities. Now we proceed to the conclusion.
To be clear, this is not about just telling people to change their light bulbs or to buy a hybrid car. This disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. This is now about our industries and our governments around the world taking decisive, large-scale action. Now must be our moment for action. We need to put a price tag on carbon emissions and eliminate government subsidies for oil, coal, and gas companies. We need to end the free ride that industrial polluters have been given in the name of a free market economy. They do not deserve our tax dollars. They deserve our scrutiny, for the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. The good news is that renewable energy is not only achievable, but good economic policy. This is not a partisan debate, it is a human one. Clean air and a livable climate are inalienable human rights. And solving this crisis is not a question of politics, it is a question of our own survival. This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Honored delegates, leaders of the world, I pretend for a living, but you do not. The people made their voices heard on Sunday around the world, and the momentum will not stop. But now it is your turn. The time to answer humankind's greatest challenge is now. We beg of you to face it with courage and honesty. Thank you.
There's a noticeable word here, no? The phrase "to be clear." He said, "To be clear." This is not just about telling people to change their light bulbs. Those are small actions only. Or to buy a hybrid car. Those things will really produce small help. He is stating here that there should be a decisive large-scale action, putting price tag on carbon emission. May tax dapat yan kasi they are destroying the planet. Now that is a thing for argumentation. Kaya yan ang nasa dulo. Remember what I've said, we begin with a narration, connect to the audience, you tell a story. And then in the body, you should explain climate change, define some terms if needed. That is exposition. This is the conclusion. Argumentation can now be done here. In argumentation, of course, we got to be careful. You know? Before you convince someone, kailangan well-established, you know, connected ka sa kanila. Hindi mo sila na-offend, na-explain mo na mabuti, and then you say what you want them to do. And that is to join your advocacy or to help you in your advocacy. These are mostly calls for action. Ano? Ang sabi niya dito, hindi lamang daw ito maganda sa kalikasan, pero isa rin itong maganda economic policy. He says here that now must be the moment for action. Now, not in 50 years, not in 60, 70, 100 years. Right now is the action. So in the last part of your speech, the conclusion, you call for action. Of course, maintaining the same ethos and pathos, nanonoon pa rin yun. Clean air and livable climate. Yung climate na komportable tayo, livable, yan ay human rights. It's an appeal to reason, ano? Rights talaga yan, ano? Right to live. So, I think yan ang ating analysis sa magandang speech ni Leonardo DiCaprio noong 2014 sa United Nations about climate change. Personally, I agree with him with his points, no? I support the movement for stopping this drastic climate change. Because, you know, if you think about it, we'll be one of the victims, ano? If ever talagang matunaw yung mga ice in North Pole, you know? Or in other countries tayo, lulubog tayo. We're just an island nation here in the Philippines. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you learned something in the language of advocacy. Try to get everything that you learn. No? Try to remember it and use it on your upcoming speech or persuasive writing. Whatever, kung ano man yung mapili dyan, magagamit yan. So this is Teacher Galvan. See you once again in Thunderings. Goodbye, everyone.